welcome to My First Dungeon, the tabletop role-playing podcast where we help game masters learn new games and make each one better than the last. About a year ago, I sat down with today's guest for an interview that was slated to last for about an hour. Before we started rolling, he asked me if I had anywhere to be that day, and I said no. About 3.5 hours later, we stopped recording on what I believe to be one of the most formative conversations of my TTRPG career that has impacted the way I think about role-playing games, podcasting, and running a business. At that time, today's guest ran a production company called Fortunate Horse that produced 3 amazing, successful shows you probably heard of: Fun City, Oh These Those Stars of Space, and Rude Tales of Magic. Last week, he launched episode 1 of Fortunate Horse's 4th show. You may have heard of it. It is called Worlds Beyond Number. Please welcome back Taylor Moore. How you been, man?
That was a year ago?
I know, right?
Oh, shit. What a year. My conception of time is done. Gone.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I did too many whippets when I was 19 years old. I don't know. Maybe I'm just working too much. I don't know. But I could not. If you had asked me to guess when we last spoke, I would have said 6 weeks ago.
Oh, God. No, it was April last year, my man. I looked it up.
Oh, my God. That's insane. Well, it's great to be back, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Really great to have you back. So I got to know, I mean, your conception of time might be off at this point. Where was Worlds Beyond Number the last time we spoke? Was it even around in your head yet? Was it being worked on?
I was auditioning for it. I don't know if I had gotten it at that point. Maybe but I had either just gotten it or I was about to get it in April 2022. Because the cast had decided they wanted to do this thing, which is something, I had been pitching to Brendan since before he moved to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And they're relatively big names in certain circles. And so, every podcast production company on the planet wanted to, when they heard they wanted to get in the podcasting game, all the production companies wanted a piece of it. And Fortunate Horse, at that time, it was just me. I mean, there's just there's a production company legally, but it's just a guy, just me.
Right.
And so, we had to pitch and we talked and some example episodes were made and things like that. But yeah, around that time, I think around like late March, April is when we were doing the handshake and saying, let's do this thing. And they had already recorded a lot of audio, a lot of the earliest character creation audio, which you can now hear on our public feed. And it's much like 10 hours, somewhere between 8 and 10 hours of it on the Patreon feed. It's in the episode of the public feed. The episode is called Preludes. You can hear that audio that they had already recorded more than a year ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was and it's still very early stages a year ago. And a lot has changed.
I'm curious, what was your pitch to them? And like, what did you bring to them? What did Fortunate Horse, what did Taylor Moore add to this project that you wanted to see it become?
Right. Number one is, there aren't a lot of other production companies or big podcast places that share the vision of what actual play really is, like what it can be. If you strip away all the bullshit categories and the small-mindedness and like just the cultural momentum that we associate with certain genres of art, if you strip all that away, actual play, quote unquote actual play, is possible. It is much bigger and more fruitful than people mostly assume. And that's even people in the games world, I think, still have a very limited understanding of what's possible with it. And especially if you go outside the games world into the podcast world, where they don't know a damn thing about anything, they don't know what it can be. But I know what it can be. And, so I respect the genre. And, I think what really cemented the deal was how we synced up on creative. The actual creative vision of the show. What kind of art can this practice produce? I think, most people in the podcast world don't really understand the power that it has. And these big companies too, it's like, you get this sort of corporate decay of the human spirit where no one's really emotionally invested in it, right? No one has this like energy of like vision and dedication to it. Whereas that is one of the few services I can confidently offer without error is my excitement. So, I think that was eventually the thing that tipped the scales and made it very clear that it was a partnership that was sort of meant to be.
I mean, I don't think, not to blow too much smoke up your ass, but I don't think there's a better actual play TTRPG production company than Fortunate Horse. I think the things you guys do with
thank you.
all your shows is the thing that everyone should be aiming for if they're not already.
Oh, thank you so much. I've been seeing a lot of that chatter too since Worlds Beyond Number came out, because Worlds Beyond Number has introduced a lot of people to our style of show, right? Which is not always heavily edited, but very thoughtfully edited, which is not new, that's not original. There's a lot of thoughtfully edited shows. And also like full score, music and the sound design and everything. Now, a lot of people that are hearing Worlds Beyond Number had never heard a podcast like that. They had never heard, especially a actual play show made in that way. So they're becoming exposed to that sort of medium for the first time, which is very funny because, like, this is an old genre, right. Like radio plays, radio dramas existed before everyone who's listening to Worlds Beyond Number were born. This is an old medium that a lot of folks are discovering for the first time. And they're saying, oh, I never knew an actual play. I'm seeing people on social media say, oh, I never know actual plays or anything could be like this, which is great. I love that. But also, there's a whole world of audio fiction and actual plays and narrative play that are well produced and scored. And so, it's not just bringing people to a new show. Thousands of people coming into a whole new genre of entertainment, a whole new medium. That's pretty cool to see. And so, but I don't want everyone to think that like everyone has to be like that. Not every movie has to be a special effects extravaganza. Sure. It's good to have a variety of things. I hope that inevitably with the success of Worlds Beyond Number, we'll see some copycats. But I hope that it doesn't pressure people to take projects that need a lighter, more delicate touch, that don't need the bombast of the grand fantasy epic. I hope it doesn't pressure more delicate shows to feel that they have to have, big brass orchestras blaring all the time.
I think what I like about it, though, is that it does present to people who hadn't really conceptualized this as a possibility. It now presents them with the option of like the fullness of the spectrum that maybe we weren't seeing before, which is a lot of what we talked about the last time was like, or, our thesis of our last conversation. And if you haven't listened to the last conversation, check it out, was that actual play as like a phrase, as a category was so broad, contained so many things that it was being overly constricted by everything being defined as actual play, when there's actually a spectrum from, Critical Role as being, pure actual play. Everything you see is what you get, versus something like Rude Tales or now Worlds Beyond Number that is edited or heavily edited or like scored in a way that it's very intentional. Like you're thinking of the listener first rather than the player first. How there's that very large spectrum. And what I like about all the, I'm very glad for the cast success. I'm extremely glad for your success. I think the show so far, what I've heard, is amazing. I listened to the first episode last night. We'll talk more about your sound design and score later because I can go on that for a while. What I like about it is that it shows someone the full breadth of what quote unquote actual play can be. And like now they can move from anywhere on that spectrum knowing that that spectrum exists.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's rad. I think it's great. I love to introduce people to this. Oh, well, you can do it this way. There's a new possibility. You can push it this big. I think that like one of the biggest sources of joy for me in regards to that is like I know how you feel at the table. Like when you're in the zone with a group of friends and everything's hitting and it's feeling great, that feeling rules. The reason we can talk about things like the tabletop community, which is a phrase I hate, but you know what I mean? Like the only thing we can all agree on is that we love that feeling.
Yeah.
Right? That feeling is the thing. People like in sports, people might have, I'm an Eagles man. I'm a big bear boy. I like a tiger. I'm not a sports guy.
Those are all things. You're nailing it so far.
Yeah. Seals for me, please.
No,
you see the seals this
there.
season? Okay, fuck. But we can all agree we love to see those big boys throw those balls around. It's like, tabletop community. The one thing we can agree is there is a feeling you're always chasing at the table of when it's hitting, and it's impossible to describe, but it's joy. It is a kind of incredible joy that we use these tools of rules and other people and narrative to get us to that place, that we can make this show that captures some of that feeling. That's how you feel. Because when you know, in the same way that when you're watching a great movie, you forget you're watching a movie. When you're reading a great book, you forget you're reading a great book. When you're in a great table game at home, that just goes away. You're in the theater of the mind. You're in the moment. The story's fucking real. I mean, I'm giving myself goosebumps because I'm remembering a specific moment from a game I played 7 years ago. When it's like, I'm remembering this moment when Luke Crane, the creator of Torchbearer and Burning Wheel, was my DM for this game. And I remember this moment where we found the guy, the head bad guy in the caverns, in the classic old school module Keep on the Borderlands. We got there and we had this big fight. I remember that moment. And to be able to like give people that feeling again, I can't put friends at the table. I can't have you make all these characters for years and do all that stuff. But to take this table game, the Brennan and the cast, to take their game and give it that same sort of feeling that we're all chasing at the table, that is the goal. And to see that hitting with people, it feels amazing. That to me is like, that is the success we were after.
It's a great answer. I mean, that's what we're all trying to do. And I think your show is doing it. I think all of your shows are doing it well. And I think I'm just so excited for so many more people to like get to feel that. Cause I know there's so many people who love actual play shows. And if you get into like a hardcore actual play show, you can get that sensation. But having this more listener centric focus, it's an easier on-ramp for someone who's not interested to get into it, and for someone who is interested to get into it faster and deeper and harder. And I mean, after one episode of Worlds Beyond Number, I'm thinking of the score when you guys go to Abria's Suvi's city, and like there's the the army is coming back in from war. And I was just like, fuck, I'm like really there. This is great. This is so much fun.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah.
And it's props to you just to make that space sound so big. I've tried to do that with things and it's tough.
Bass. You want bass, baby. It's all about the bass. Scale is entirely on bass and reverberation. That's what you need.
It's fucking great. We've gone 15 minutes into this, and just in case someone doesn't already know what Worlds Beyond Number is, can you give me a really quick, what's the log line of this show? Why should people be checking it out?
Sure. So Worlds Beyond Number is a new podcast project from 4 superstars of online actual play streaming. All right. They all do video stuff. You know them from Dimension 20 and LA by Night and all these different projects. Brennan and Abria and Erica and Lou. They're fantastic. Starting a new sort of podcast umbrella project that's going to make these stories, right? We're going to play tabletop role-playing games, and we're going to use these to tell stories, and those stories are going to be produced into these, grand audio epics. And the first one, our first story in this new show, is called The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One, and it is going to be a years-long D&D campaign, which is something that these cast members don't get to do. We very much were interested in the first campaign being just like, relax. You do not have to hit an episode quota or time or anything. This can run at the pace of a home game. We're taking the characters from, we did 10 hours of character creation, just rolling, right? Hour 9, Abria's rolling for her skill points or whatever.
Right.
We really drag it out and give time and let Brennan and the cast build this giant world, right? Like, that has continents. There's different empires. And, we've talked about how, behind the scenes, of course, how is this empire different? How is this culture different? How do they see magic different? Like, it's big, which is that scale of play, which is what most people are after in their home games, right? Yeah. Like this years-long D&D epic. They don't get a chance to do that in their lives or professionally anymore. So they were very excited about that. And so was I, because I want this big, grand fantasy epic. Because, Fortune Horse, we don't really sort of have, we don't really have the sort of Tolkien-esque, and Worlds Beyond Number, The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One is very much inspired by Miyazaki films, the Studio Ghibli movies, especially things like Mononoke and Howl's Moving Castle. Those are the 2 big ones, but you can see a lot in there. The character creation arc that we made is very My Neighbor Totoro-esque.
Yeah.
It's which is very intentional. But the other Fortunate Horse shows, we've got our like satirical cyberpunk noir. We've got our Tex Avery cartoon, Terry Pratchett fantasy, and we've got our like Star Trek, surreal, insane Star Trek, legally distinct Star Trek show. That is not, Star Trek owned by Paramount Pictures, TM, registered trademark of Paramount Pictures. But we don't have this big, sincere epic with a coherent, take on like magic systems and the lore, this world building that you get in like these big grand fantasy epics. We don't have that. So I was very excited to work. If they had said we want to do a surreal, bonkers, off the wall one shot of 6 episodes, I'd have been like, or if they were like, well, we want to do a fantasy Looney Tunes or like a satirical cyberpunk noir, I'd be like, I already do that. I don't care. But now, no. They wanted to create this big, massive mountain of a narrative. And so I was just like, hell yeah, sign me up. So the fact that it was already going to be very different from all the other Fortunate Horse shows was a big part of the pitch to me. I love that about it.
When you talk about the scale of that, my thoughts go to, do you know in Barcelona, there's the La Sagrada Familia, the like crazy church that looks like crazy spires? Gaudi designed that with full knowledge that he would not be alive to see it completed. So like made plans for things he knew wouldn't be able to be done in his lifetime with the technology that was available. I like someone coming into something knowing like, this is going to be way bigger than we even know right now. Let's just like fucking throw ourselves into it because we'll make it that epic by the time we get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Building one of these giant fantasy worlds is something that Brennan doesn't really get to do with the way that his other projects are structured, which is, it's great for them. Like, I think one of the coolest things Dimension 20 does at Dropout is the variety that they have, all these different worlds and these different casts and these different takes and vibes for all these things. I love it. They're right in the middle of their first, not in the middle, but towards the end of their first real horror campaign. And that's so cool. They can go back and forth. And we are too. Like, we are going to do, Worlds Beyond Number is going to involve other campaigns and things. But I think for the next few years, The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wilds one is going to be our reliable bass drum beat that carries on. And in between it, we'll be able to sprinkle some one-shots or some sort of lighter lifts, smaller, more lightly produced, smaller arcs of 3 to 6 episodes. Maybe we'll bring in guests. It's a playground, right? It's much more flexible because it's smaller, much more small team. It's podcasting, so production-wise, we can be a lot more flexible and playful. Whereas with video, oh boy, you can't, you have to plan a video project like you're taking an army to war. Like you have to plan your supply lines. You got to plan Crafty. You got to know when Crafty's getting there. You got to know if you're going to have vegan options on the menu for the guy, for the person that's holding the bounce for the B team.
My man, you're talking to an assistant director.
I
know.
With audio,
crazy.
it's like, just like make sure you have a good mic at home.
Audio, you can kind of turn on a dime.
And then all the production headache is focused onto the guy that does the post-production.
Which is fine.
I don't know.
Who cares about who even is that guy, right? It's just
what
a
dumb
just a guy.
sucker. What idiot would sign up to be that rube at the end of the process?
You don't want to play the game. You just want to do the work. Sure, fine, whatever.
A bad deal.
One of the things that I was super excited about that I heard in the preview episodes, and it's repeated again in the first episode, is Brennan saying that he was going to, because it's such a longer epic, he's going to put more narrative control in the hands of the players, which is something you find a lot in indie games. Is much more common. In 5e actual plays, that's not necessarily usually an actual play show, especially a long one, there's kind of a fiat. There's DM's fiat. There's a wall between the DM and the players. It's very much the DM is telling a story. That doesn't seem like it's necessarily going to be the case with Worlds Beyond Number, at least this campaign. Was that a deliberate thing that came out early, or was that something that's of evolved?
Oh, yeah, 100%. No, that was and this happened before I was ever a part of the project. Brennan, in doing this in the streaming world for so long and meeting so many people in it, they sort of found each other. And I think that like any home game, you can push everything as far as the table allows. And at this table, at the Worlds Beyond Number table, there's a lot of trust, and there's a lot of respect and appreciation for the ability of everyone, not just the DM, to contribute big building blocks to the narrative. We see the same thing at Fortune Horse, honestly, because you have pros who respect and love each other, who are very good storytellers, and they trust each other so that if I throw you a ball, you're not going to drop it. You're going to throw it back, and we're playing catch now.
Right.
Whereas, that's not true at every table. That's okay. Like the art form can contain all these other things. But with Worlds Beyond Number, it is very much in the DNA of the show that the trust is there narratively. That, yeah, you can throw that ball back and forth between people. It's not going to be dropped.
On this show, I've been playing a lot more indie games recently. We played Wander Home. We played 10 Candles. And a lot of the best narrative moments I found that are most satisfying are when the players take over that control, when it's shared at the table, when there is someone guiding the fun or guiding the story, but not necessarily dictating or controlling. So I'm really excited to see.
And this is the thing. All tabletop role-playing games are vehicles to take us to a certain way of being, right? So yes, some vehicles might give you a different vibe along the journey, but really ultimately that final destination, it doesn't matter the vehicle you take to get there. And so I think that, Joseph Campbell had this fantastic analogy for religion, that a lot of like organized religion is like the, you build a window so you can see outside the building. But eventually over time, that window, there's some stained glass, there's some smoke. The window gets like sort of opaqued, it gets colored or covered, and then it becomes just like another piece of the wall. We don't want to let, all tabletop role-playing games are windows that let us see and go to this other place, this other way of feeling. And we don't want to let those windows get so opaque that we confuse the tool for the job we were hoping to use the tool for. So, I think that any game, chess, I can imagine two people playing chess, narrativizing it, and getting to that place. And it's fine. This is not to say system doesn't matter. Depends on what you're going for. If you like solving puzzles but hate writing stories with your friends, play some Gloomhaven.
Right.
Right? All these different games can sort of offer sort of different flavors. But if you want to get to this place where you're just telling a story with friends, these games are just aids to get you to that place, because that's where the fun is.
I'm sure that anyone playing in this game and anyone listening to this game is excited about like different things. Like I'm excited about players taking more control. I'm sure other people are now getting really excited about the sound design and stuff. As the producer of the show, what are you most excited about seeing this show become, or avenues you want to see it take? Is there something that's like kind of the thing that you're looking towards down the line that you're excited to get to?
Gosh. I mean, I feel like obviously I want the story to move people, right? But I feel like I don't have to worry about that. Like this crew can do it.
And based off just the children's campaign in the first episode, like I think you're already on, like the ball's already rolling down the hill. You just got to make sure it doesn't hit anything.
Yeah, they're doing great. I hope I'm trying to think about like my personal aspirations for what we can achieve, aesthetically. I hope we can make the world feel real and lived in. Like I really hope that we can show people this world that feels like a place they want to live and play. I want places to feel real. I want the cultures and the sounds of the world to feel real and distinguished from each other. Yeah, I want this to be a setting that we could return to. I want this to be a setting people could play themselves in. Yeah, for some reason, that's one thing I'm really excited about, is like having this setting that we have the opportunity to spend so long in and therefore make feel real. But that's it's so funny because that is not how I think about it. Like that, when I think about my goals for the show, I don't say, oh, I want to have a great lived in, believable, wonderful setting that people love. It's like, I want to make my patrons happy. I want to when I get out of bed in the morning, it's like, all right, here's in the day, like I want to make Erica and Abria and Lou happy. I want to infuriate Brennan.
Goals that everyone should aspire to.
No, it's like I really, what actually gets me excited is like making the patrons and the cast happy. I mean, like that makes it sound like I don't care about anyone else. That's not true. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, one thing I like about this kind of work and this kind of art that we make and the way we run the business is that we are all doing it for each other. And that to me gives me a lot of drive and meaning, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like all my aesthetic desires and hopes for like what my work or what the story of the show does, that's sort of like a fog that I don't see very distinctly, partly because I trust the cast so much that I don't have to think about it distinctly. But also my number one concern is just like, how can I support the team? How can I show the listeners like a fucking incredible time? You know, I want to see them crying. I want to see them gasping. I want, you know, like that's what I want to see. And I want to see my colleagues feel safe, and I want to see safe and supported and have agency and like have enough financial success to feel like they don't have to worry. Like those are the things that when I sit at my desk, that's front of mind.
You have on the Fortunate Horse website, on the About Us page, a quote that I think is one of my favorite things I've ever read from anybody about business. The quote is, "All of our shows are majority fan-funded and controlled by the people who make them, with cooperative profit sharing and directed by consensus decision-making. This is a very bad way to make a lot of money really fast, but it is a great way to live."
Yeah.
That sentiment is exactly the way that I want to run anything that I ever do, because it's beautiful, like choosing a community, choosing to support and provide value to that community, whatever that may be, and just making that everything.
Yeah.
So I really do. I don't want to, sound patronizing, but I really applaud this statement. I think it is like the coolest thing I've seen on, as a mission statement for something.
It ain't easy. I'll tell you this. I talk about, because there's a lot of stuff going on there. So, and this comes from, my experience in life and things that have happened to me and things I've seen happen to others. But the two biggest influences on me as far as business, well, I'll say three things. There were three huge influences on me. One of them was working at Kickstarter and seeing, because Kickstarter is a funny thing for a lot of reasons, but it also highlights how the internet is a very siloed place. That is to say that people call it the bubble, right? Like you have your bubble, very, very small bubble that you curate based on what you see. But a lot happens outside that. But at Kickstarter and other platforms where I imagine are like this, you get to see the back end of the big picture, right? So working there, I learned so much about dozens of different communities, of different businesses, of industries. I helped people launch a gravity blanket project that sold $7 million of gravity blankets. And I helped a comedian make her first web series. There was like the 3 episodes that she couldn't afford to make. And then, she made, and all these different things, a actual play podcast that wanted to make a setting book about their homebrew setting, published that for the first time, all that sort of stuff across musicians and filmmakers and authors and artists and everything that's uncategorizable. All these things, I worked across all of them. And so I got to see the big picture of what the independent creator economy actually looks like, which put me in an extraordinarily privileged position because that sort of bird's eye view is rare. Mm-hmm. Like most people don't get to see it. I mean, physically, how would you? Logistically, how would you? All that data is captured in these private organizations. And I was only able to see it because I happened to work at one. So I got this bird's eye view of the entire independent creator economy. And so, and I got to work with all these different people doing it in every different kind of way. I got to sit in a room with Alejandro Jodorowsky. He was wearing a cape, by the way. Whoa. And we got to talk about strategy for his, Kickstarter project. I got to meet the Mystery Science Theater 3000 crew.
Oh, wow.
And we shot like a video and I got to do a bit with it was just like, all these different kinds and small ones too. And the number one takeaway After 6 years of meeting thousands of different projects and creators across industries, the number one takeaway was this. If you want a world that has independent culture in it, and that is to say that the production of cultural products is democratized, what anyone, not just rich people, not just people of the socioeconomic caste or class in power, if anyone is allowed to produce culture, if you want that world, there has to be a material basis for that cultural product to be made. That means money, time, and resources. So to sum all that up, there's two versions of the world. One, all culture is made by rich people and people with access to rich people. The other world is where everybody else also gets to make culture. But in that second world, you have to fight. You have to understand and you have to work the mechanics that produce the material. This is not a good sum up. I'm just saying the same thing again in a longer way.
It's fine. It's fine.
Money, folks, money. If your shit doesn't make money, it will always either be a hobby or existing at the whim of a rich person. That's just the truth of it. That is the truth. The big stinky truth at the intersection of art and commerce is that somebody's paying for it. Somebody's got to pay for it. And if it's not democratized, then it's centralized. If it's centralized, all culture will always be under the control of the ruling class. Full stop. That's it. That became a lesson to me that was deep to my core important. So when I started Fortunate Horse, the philosophy is, regardless of what you want to make, regardless of how important you think it is, all that stuff, you do not stand a chance unless there is a firm, sustainable, material foundation that it can exist on. Otherwise, it will be a hobby. And if it's a hobby, that means the person who actually pays you, your boss, gets to decide, right, when you get to do that hobby. So the only way that independent art can exist is if someone is in the background making sure that shit is paid for. So that was the biggest thing. Right?
That was number one.
It has to make money if it's going to last. Should art be made that isn't profit focused? Of course, but who pays for it? Who pays for it? Right? So always ask that question. If people say art has got to be, you got to have art without a profit motive. Okay, but that means that somewhere a rich person is saying, I like it, so I'll pay for it. At some point, or it could just be a rich person that says, all right, I'll give you 8 hours off on a weekend. You can do your hobbies then, make art then, right? Okay. So I'm very adamant about this. People don't like to talk about it, but I'm adamant about it. The second thing was a quote I read in a book. It was a book about screenwriting by Ben Garant and Thomas Lennon, who are guys from The State, the old sketch comedy group The State, who went on to become screenwriter hacks for these big blockbuster, mediocre movies. They'd be the first to admit that, like, Night at the Museum is not Citizen Kane, but it made them multimillionaire screenwriters. And they wrote a book that I recommend every creative person read about screenwriting, but it's very honest. And one of the best bits of advice they give is don't buy a big house. A lot of people, when they experience like early creative success, the first thing they do is they buy a mansion. But the problem is that work that you got might dry up, but the mortgage payment for that mansion, it's not going anywhere, my friend. Mm-hmm. So don't commit yourself. Don't bloat. Don't commit yourself to a way of life and business that then forces you, and this is the key point, to do horrible things. Capitalism, the fundamental psychological mechanic of capitalism is that it threatens you into doing things that are unconscionable. Most people, the human spirit, we don't want to hurt each other. We want to get along. Most people, if in an unadulterated circumstance, are going to make sure everyone's got enough food to eat and place to sleep and warm. That's just the way we've evolved. But capitalism tricks you and says, actually, no, the only way we're going to allow you to live is if you abuse and exploit everyone else. So don't buy a big house, because if you buy a big house, you're going to need money. And if you need money, you'll end up doing things to get that money that you don't want to do. So the way you retain agency is by staying small. Don't make a lot of big bloated commitments. That was number two. And the third thing was union organizing. Union organizing taught me how to use consensus decision-making. It taught me about the modern sort of overeducated bourgeois class, which is most of the people that you and I know and most people that we work with. It's most of our audience. Their concerns or anxieties about class and the world and work and all these things. But the coolest thing it gave me was consensus decision-making. And it taught me a very important lesson. Union organizing taught me that there's no utopia. Like, there is no utopian ideal. Union organizing is as messy and contentious and difficult as organizing anything else. You know, a socialist versus a capitalist hierarchy or political activity, it is difficult. You still got to do a lot of scheduling. People still get in fucking fights and arguments. But because it is so much less hierarchical and because it is inclusive rather than exploitative, when you are still going through all those problems that human beings will always have, it somehow produces meaning rather than reduces meaning. And that was the big discovery for me, was that if I'm fighting with you, that fight can feel miserable if one of us is the other's boss, because then another one of us is threatened. It's awful. But if you're in a group of people that are equals and you have a fight and you use consensus decision-making, it's different. It's different because consensus decision-making, inclusivity, rewards different kind of living. It rewards relationship building, and it creates a meaning in your life because it builds those relationships. You have to take other people into consideration when you're making decisions, and they have to take you into consideration. And when you begin to really understand those obligations, it changes the way you feel about yourself, and it changes the way you feel about others. And suddenly, what would just be a boring or shitty meeting, you know, at a company or whatever, becomes an active relationship creation and meaning making in the world. And so you could take people and be like, put them in one room and they're doing paperwork and emails and they feel awful. Put them in a different room where it's consensus based and it's inclusive. And suddenly the paperwork and the emails feels like they're actually making a life for others around them. And those three things, right? Understanding how the creator economy really works, being warned against the danger of bigness, of bloatness, of that need to grow no matter what. And thirdly, how powerful flat hierarchies are, how powerful and meaningful in a human way consensus decision-making is. Those three things combined into, I guess, what became my political philosophy, which is now how the business operates. And I think if you're really honest about your political philosophy, you have to operate businesses in that way. You have to pursue cooperative business structures. You have to pursue consensus. We're called upon like that. That makes the best life. We have to do business. We're born in a capitalist country. We're not going to fix that anytime soon. You want to live? Everybody's got to serve somebody. We all need jobs. We all need money. You got to work. But within that structure, we can carve out these little spaces that are safe from the destruction of humanity and the destruction of meaning that the normal capitalist incentives encourage. We can create relationships and create meaning. So is Fortune Horse going to be solvent in a year? I have no fucking clue. But I do know that in the time I have spent building on it, I have increased the amount of love and meaning and joy in the world around me. And we are a for-profit fucking company. You do not have to be a charity. You ain't got to be an NGO or whatever. No, all that stuff is perfunctory, superficial bullshit. It is the way you involve other people in your business. Do they have agency? Are they exploited, or do they share a profit? Do they share, like, is there profit sharing? Mm-hmm. How much agency did the people around you have? The more you maximize that, the more you become something more than just a person doing a job. And you become a family, you become a community, you become part of something that is actually bigger than yourself. And if you're lucky, if you're very, very lucky, you also get to produce something that you think is beautiful. And I hope at Fortune Horse, I think we got the first part in the bag. The struggle is then making art that is beautiful. Because there are factories that make, ovens in Spain that run on this cooperative model. They'll tell you the same shit. We also then get to make music and jokes and mysteries, which is, baby, it's icing on the cake after all that. I'm sorry I just talked for 10 minutes.
No, it was great. I love that. I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit more on your I do want to return to Worlds Beyond Number more specifically as like a creative endeavor, but
Sure.
can you talk a little bit more about how your company operates, specifically like the actual workings of a consensus decision-making business model, and also like the actual workings of like a business model where everyone is sharing in the profit?
Yes. Okay. So Marxism 101, just real quick. I swear to God, this will be so fast. I swear to God. I swear to God. All right. So capitalism is based on the idea. So you make boxes. I pay you $10 to make a box. You give me the box. You take the $10. I then sell the box for $50 and keep the difference. That is called profit to me. Capitalism is based on this idea. However, that creates this terrible effect that has driven everyone insane and is going to inevitably cause the downfall of society, which is that everyone is completely alienated from the way that their efforts actually interact with the world. Mm-hmm. And Marx calls this alienation of labor. So the way you get around that is you don't allow that $40 extra to be concentrated in just the one little guy at the top. You spread it around, right? There's a lot of different ways to do this. My wife works at a media company, and a lot of their staff owns shares in the company. A lot of companies allow the employees to own shares and reap dividends of the company. When I worked at Kickstarter, I got stock options. It's very, very common practice, but it should be more. Mm-hmm. Right? You can kind of move that knob anyway. So one of the coolest things we do at Fortunate Horse is profit sharing. And those profit shares, how much everyone in the cast gets from the show, is decided, this is going to blow your mind, by consensus. Now, what is consensus? Taylor, you keep saying that word. Do you just mean voting? No. Voting, right, the way we do it in America especially, is what's called first past the post. You get 51% of the vote, 50% of the vote plus one more, you win. That side wins, right?
Right.
That's democracy. But we do is consensus, and that's different. In democracy, in a majority rule situation, people form alliances, right? You back channel, you build parties. You don't need a government to see this. This can happen with just 3 people, right? 2 of them gang up on the other one. They're always going to get what they want because it's 2 versus 1. But with consensus voting, everyone gets essentially a veto vote of their participation, right?
Okay.
So in consensus, you have a vote, you see where everyone's at, and we use a method called fist of 5, which is you're on a scale of 1 to 5 about a decision. 1 is absolutely not. If we do this, I will have to leave the project. Like I'm walking. 1 is I'm walking. 5 is extraordinarily excited about this. I believe this is the perfect way forward. 2 is no, I'm a no, but I could be convinced. And a 3 is a yes, but I'm a yes, but like I have some reservations potentially about this. And a 4 is, kind of in between. 3 and a 5. Classic 4. Classic 4 behavior to be between a 3 and a 5. And what that does is you vote, you do fist of 5, and then that gives you a lay of where everybody's at. And then the 2s and the 3s and the 4s and the 5s and the 1s all talk. And you try to compromise until you can get everyone to at least a 3. And that means you go forward. Or everyone goes to a 2 and you decide we're not going to do it. So rather than having the majority gang up on a minority, consensus decision-making, and this is the real mechanic of it that I love, that creates the meaning. Mm-hmm. Everyone has to be considered.
Sure.
Everybody. You cannot move forward, all right? So it's like you can't leave a minority in the dust. You got to talk to them. You have to take their considerations into account, even if they just want to voice them. You have to hear them. It's consensus. It is based on consent. Do we have your consent to move forward? And that part really is the magic sauce, because that creates the meaning, that creates the relationship, and it creates the agency that everyone enjoys, because the group can't leave you in the dust. And when you have people that are operating and living in that way where they're not scared all the time, that's when they can really play and have fun and have confidence, and you get to work with the full person, and it makes better art, and it makes for better colleagues. So that's what we do. So we work on profit sharing, and we decide those profit shares by consensus. Each show in Fortunate Horse has developed their own culture around this. Some shows use the Fist of 5 method religiously. We call it Fist of 5. We register our numbers. Other shows use a more sort of informal adapt to it. Sometimes they'll only rarely call for a Fist of 5, and sometimes it's just sort of looking around and getting a vibe check. Whereas the whole time we know in the background, anybody can sort of veto this.
Sure.
And every show has decided on their own payment schedule.
Cool.
Some shows give much more to the producers than others. Some have like salary caps for certain positions or salary minimums for others. That is for each show to decide as best fits them. So Fortune Horse really isn't, we are a production company that also acts as an umbrella, like a federation of all these shows that are sort of behaving on their own and making their own laws within them. But the one thing I do require when Fortunate Horse is going to a group of people to pitch a show, or when someone says they want to develop a show with Fortunate Horse, that is something that we require. We require profit sharing and we require consensus decision making because that's, I believe that makes a meaningful life. And I would rather have a meaningful life and not become a billionaire than try to reach for the brass ring, achieve success for myself over others, and in my wake, leave more exploitation and misery. That's 100% all that is.
I really love that. I really admire that. I'm working on a bunch of other projects that are beginning to take this into consideration of how we do profits. And this just sounds like the best way to do it. It sounds like the most, economical and fun. And
yeah, I'll tell you this. Something I learned in union organizing, everyone in America, no one knows anything about union organizing. But it's like, you should, it's great. So here's what happens when you organize a union. You organize a union and then you have representatives go and negotiate a contract with management. Management is required to open the books and show them to the negotiators.
Yeah.
Think about that. What if an employee could negotiate their own salary while looking at the accountant books of the company?
Right.
So if I'm an employee negotiating for salary and I don't know how much money the company has, then I ask for what I want. I hope I get it. I don't know. What if I ask for too much? And you hope
it's the right amount.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm underselling myself, not knowing what they're paying.
Exactly. What if I ask for too much? They pay me too much. The company sinks. I didn't know. I don't know how much fucking money you're making because you don't tell me. But in the union process, they're forced to tell you. And so everyone is arguing in good faith, trying to make fair negotiated deals that involve consensus between the investors, the company, and the people who actually provide the value, the labor. They open the books because you don't want to negotiate a deal that's going to sink your own project.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's not being done.
It just gives everyone now I fully understand where you're coming from. You fully understand where I'm coming from. Like we're operating on even playing field. There's not this mismatch of information.
Exactly. It democratizes information, which is a way of democratizing power.
I love it. I could talk about this all day.
Oh, me too, baby. As you can tell.
I'm sure we're going to find our way back to it momentarily.
Midnight Muscadines is a cozy, dark tabletop role-playing game where light and shadow intertwine in a fractured world. Players take on the roles of marmoteers, brave adventurers who journey into the untamed wilderness to collect the elusive Midnight Muscadines, craft magical jams, and protect the fragile light of Nim. Through collaborative storytelling and resourceful gameplay, players weave tales of courage, community, and the pursuit of balance. Will you preserve the light, uncover the truths hidden in the shadows, or reshape the balance of the world forever? Midnight Muscadines is perfect for fans of Studio Ghibli and Sea of Stars who seek to capture the magic of exploration and the heartfelt adventure in a world where small heroes make a big impact. Play Midnight Muscadines as a traditional GM'd game, GMless, or even solo. Midnight Muscadines is crowdfunding now on BackerKit. Join the campaign at pandeongames.com/muscadines.
I'm Quinns of tabletop role-playing game review show Quinn's Quest, and this is Play to Find Out. Play to Find Out is an actual play podcast that brings notorious old games from the 80s and 90s back to the table. Each season of Play to Find Out, I'm joined by Emily Johnson and Rob Morgan.
Good? Nervous?
Yeah.
You both looked at each other really concerned, like you think what's about to happen is going to be unpleasant. And frankly, I think that's rude.
And together, we explore the TTRPGs of ages gone by. Our goal? To separate the TTRPGs that deserve to be remembered from those that maybe don't.
Can
I
I?
don't know, Emily. It was the 80s.
Also,
A
how
lot
do
of
you
people
know?
were on cocaine. We blow the dust from decrepit systems to learn how they work. Your 100 on the encounter table bursts out. Right, you've encountered a bug. Get ready. Don't laugh.
Does one get ready for a fog?
Don't laugh. Encounter their unique quirks.
I do finger guns to cover up how I wince.
Yeah, a weird thing happens as you do finger guns.
Oh no.
And I'm hoping that the Quinn's Quest community will join us in exploring these games too. If you this up, cannot describe to you how much your adventure ends here.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because the best way to learn is to play to find out. Play to Find Out is available now on the Quinn's Quest Patreon, but the first episode of each series streams for free on the Quinn's Quest YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. Anyway, you failed the Earthtech roll, and you made jokes while I was doing my exposition, so you don't get to hear any more.
No. Come on.
I was shook as...
But I do want to swing back to Worlds Beyond Number and talk a little bit about the post-production process for this show.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people, this is maybe the first show that they've experienced like this, the first show that they've seen do like extensive post-production, sound design and scoring and composing and things. You operate as the show's producer, editor, sound designer, composer. Am I missing any titles there?
Gosh. I mean, I offer succubus subs, or I guess it'll be incubus services, but no one's taken me up on them yet. I do everything. So far for the audio so far on the public feed, I do everything in post. Now the children's campaign, which is the long, very cool, like, My Neighbor Totoro-esque character creation campaign for the level 0 characters, that lives on our Patreon. That was edited and designed by Casey Toney, who's done work for Root Tales and the fantastic campaign Skyjacks, one of my favorite shows. And Neo Scum, of course, also edits Hey Riddle Riddle. If you're a HRR fan, you know Casey from there. And Casey's one of the greatest who's ever done it. So Casey worked on the children's campaign with me. But no, for everything on the public feed, I am the sole... I am doing it all. I am cutting it, I'm designing it, and scoring it. And there's only one piece of music that isn't original. We use something from Whole Planet Suites. We use Neptune in episode 1. But other than that, it's all original music.
Last time we talked, I mentioned that like my episodes take about like 8 to 12 hours to edit. I'm now pushing into like the 35, 40 because I've gotten way more into sound design.
Yep.
And I think that's where you were at last time. For a Worlds Beyond Number podcast, what's like the average amount of time that you think you're taking? Best guess at this point.
My canned answer is somewhere between 40 and 80 hours.
Oof.
But that's going to change. I'm really trying to streamline the production process because that is not sustainable. That is an irresponsible amount. And I'll tell you this, I've been doing this for 3 or 4 years now. Physically, I'm not able to do what I once was. When I first started out, I could like stay up all night for a couple of days and do a Rude Tales, edit. But now I can't do that anymore. That hits me a little bit harder.
Sure.
You hit 40 and there's a sort of wall of what you're physically able to withstand that's very different from what you could do in your early 30s. So we're trying to streamline the process. One of the problems is in the last year since I talked to you, not taught myself. I had a lot of classes and everything like that on music composition, so I could write original music for Rude Tales and Worlds Beyond Number, and that has actually added to the production.
I was going to say, yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Time. Music is the most rewarding thing in my life, like artistically. Like it is the most freeing and beautiful and wonderful thing that I've ever done in my life, and I'm angry that I discovered it so late in life. I wish I had been able to do this younger, but that's my favorite thing in the world now. But oh my God, does it add production time? It's like composing an original piece of music is time intensive if you want it to be good. So I put way too much time in these. It's irresponsible. I get to because I'm self-employed. If I had a boss, they would kill me. I think they wouldn't even fire me. They would just put me in a pit like an oubliette so that no one's ever, able to really catch my mind virus that makes me do this.
It's like, you live down there now.
Yeah.
Stay.
Please, let me just edit one more, sir.
No XLR cable will reach down there.
I'm scrawling a podcast on the wall like
Just
the Marquis de
doing
Sade of
the
my own
waveform.
fecal matter and blood. Yeah. And then Brennan says, "Oh, there's a hole in the mountain pass." G flat, A sharp. Just scrawling. God knows I would probably do it. It's become a pathology for me at this point. So listen, the answer to your question is too fucking long. Way too long. Way too long. Trying to get better about that. We're making hires. We're expanding the team at Fortunate Horse. I'm trying to bring in like consultants and experts to tell me how to do this more quickly and better. And I'm trying to build up a music library so that we don't have to compose original cues for every single thing we do. But that's the problem is like the pilot, right? Like the beginning, you're making everything from scratch.
Right.
5 episodes from now, I'll know, I'll use the same music or the same spell design. Oh, that's an Imperial illusion spell. Well, I have a hotkey that just immediately places that file into my Pro Tools session. Right. Whereas now it's like, Imperial magic. What should the sound design ethos be for Imperial magic? Let me do a day and a half of research and playing around with different synthesizers and musical instruments and VSTs and try to find, so it's just like the first episode is a mountain-sized amount of labor, bigger than every other episode after it.
And that is like all of that work to find one sound cue that will last about 3/4 of a second.
And no one will notice that no one will notice that every Imperial spell has like sonic consistency across it, and how it interacts with the different kinds of magic in the world of Amora. No one will notice.
You say that. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people who sit there and go, "Oh, that's an I don't think there's going to be people who hear and be like, "That's an Imperial summoning spell or whatever." But I think in anything, when that amount of care is taken with something, it does come across. Like maybe not on a super no one's actively thinking about it, but those things accumulate over time and over a body of work, and that becomes what it is. I mean, I think that labor of love comes across.
And this is the thing of like, I feel like I'm building a cathedral that will be completed long after I am in the oubliette.
The oubliette in the cathedral. That's the first thing you build. They put you in the oubliette to start. You've got to watch it being built over top of you.
They call it an oubliette, but I can't forget. Look at that beautiful cathedral. So no, the answer to your question is too long.
And just out of curiosity, what production considerations are you trying to streamline specifically? Is that just with hires, or is that with your specific production process as well?
The actual production process.
Okay.
The actual production process. It's very difficult to find tools and software that are for this like very specific use case. Mm-hmm. I use a lot of tools that are made for people in adjacent practices, musicians, filmmakers, people like that don't exactly fit my purposes. Even Pro Tools, it can be difficult to work in Pro Tools. Which can do everything, but sometimes it feels like it can do everything, but it's just not optimized for editing a 2.5 hour audio drama with irresponsible amounts of music and sound production. There's a million things like that.
I'm working on Audition. All of a sudden, I'm seeing like 15, 18, 20 tracks of sound design and music. It's like, oh shit.
It and then try adding like real-time plugin and like virtual instrument on top of that. It is a nightmare. The episode was supposed to release at midnight on like 12:01 a.m. on March 1st, and it ended up going out at 11:50 or something the next night. So I still hit March 1st. So cue the fire. The history books will say March 1. But the computer, I am doing this all on like a 2018 MacBook Pro, and Pro Tools was crashing, and occasionally the computer was shutting down. I am not kidding you. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I counted. For 3 days, it shut down every 10 to 20 minutes.
Wow.
I am not kidding.
While you were working? Or while you're trying to export?
No, while I'm finishing it, like while I'm working on it. And because you can't, like, it was miserable. I cried. I wept. on Saturday. Oh, no, it wasn't Saturday. It would have been on like, what was it? When, like the morning of the 1st.
Yeah.
Like I got up and I was just like, no, like it's the most frustrating thing in the world. It was torture, absolute torture. So like the actual technicalities of the production need a makeover. And so we're getting that.
I can't even imagine that. Oh, I'm sorry you had to go through that. As someone who's doing some of this stuff, I'm like, that sounds like a nightmare.
I deserve it.
No one
Totally
deserves
deserve
that.
it.
No one deserves the
there's
Pro
this
Tools
great-
crash.
Oh, no. Go look at this Bruegel painting called The Fall of Icarus. One of my favorite paintings.
Too close to the sun, my child. Too close.
It's a fantastic painting because it's this great, pastoral sort of bucolic like Bruegel landscape, and just there's a little foot sticking out of the river, and no one notices. No, everyone else is just going about their life. One of my favorite paintings. I love it.
I fucking love that. I think the last thing I want to talk about, the last thing that's on my list, I would talk with you forever. I do want to talk a little bit about your Patreon specifically.
Sure.
Because looking at at Fortunate Horses Patreons, especially when we first talked about the These Those Stars of Space Patreon specifically, I see so many shows that I like, they put out Patrons, and a lot of the tiers are like ad-free episodes or just general thanks or whatever. These Those Stars of Space was, here's what you like. You like this show. You give us $5 a month, you're going to get a whole other show. This is what you like. We're going to give you more of what you like. That's the deal. I love that philosophy of, this is our community. We know what you want. We're going to give you more. We're going to provide value to you.
Hey, These Those Stars of Space, great Patreon.
Great Patreon.
We've had some very good episodes come out recently. Some of my favorites. Joe, who DMs and produces that show, is just on fire creatively. He's just this year has been his best ever. It's great.
I just listened to the Thread Count 9000 brother episode.
Oh, I loved that one so much.
It was really good. So I think that is the perfect way that people should be operating these types of things. You're building a community. You're providing value to that community. You're not just, it's not one-way street. You're not just asking for something. You're giving something. And you're giving something that people actually care about, what people actually want. Over the past couple of years with Fortunate Horse, what have you found to be the most and least successful things you've been doing on Patreon specifically?
Wow. What's the least successful thing we've done on Patreon? How do you define success?
And that's the question too.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It could be monetarily. It could be just community building. It could be what felt good for you guys and what was fun for you guys.
Gosh, I don't know how to answer that. I'll tell you the most successful stuff. This is totally my opinion. This is just how I vibe on it. Tim Platt's games that he has made for the Rude Tales Patreon are fantastic. Tim Platt, who is a cast member of Rude Tales of Magic, plays Stir Fry, one of the most controversial and I would argue beloved characters in all of literature. He runs these games for our Patreon that I think is some of the funniest stuff I've ever heard in my life. Tim is one of my favorite stand-ups. He is one of my favorite comedy writers. I have been a fan of his long before we started working together, before we became friends. We met because I was producing a stand-up show that he would perform at. I've been a fan before we ever shook hands. And he makes these games that I just think that his point of view and his writing is so good. It's wild that lives on our Patreon. That you can get something that good on a Patreon is mind-blowing to me. I love it. The stuff that, I really would love to ask the patrons this question. I'll tell you this, for Worlds Beyond Number, the way we think of it is, we were like, okay, what is our fundamental approach to this Patreon? How do we want to do it differently? What is if we could write one rule down for our Patreon, what is that rule going to be? And the number one principle that we came up with is deal.
Yep.
We want to make the best deal on the internet. We want to give you the highest amount of pleasure for the lowest amount of dollars. Saying pleasure like that feels sensual, frankly. I nailed it.
People know what they're getting when they're signing up for the Worlds Beyond Number Patreon. It's a sensual deal.
I said I offer incubus services and sensual deals, and
It's all
here we
coming
are.
All you have to do is go to the bottom of the oubliette, ask for the incubus,
yes,
and you have to listen to his
coming.
composition first.
I'll wash off. I'll clean up. There is a shower down here. So that our goal was deal. Like we want to give, and we're going to start off with one tier, $5. That's it. We are going to do a poll in a few months, maybe, of all of our Patreon backers and be like, okay, now that we're at the normal pace, we're no longer in that crazy first quarter of 2023 release schedule that was just as complicated as any major motion picture release plan. No, now we're in the normal, bi-weekly chat show on the off weeks podcast cadence that everybody loves. What do we want to see out of that Patreon even more? And then we're going to give it to them. And it might be a higher tier. It might be changing the way we do certain feeds. Who knows? It can be anything. We see it as a living document. Like the things can change, and we want to give people the best deal. So we're going to ask folks what they want to see and then change and grow the Patreon according to what they want. So we're not guessing. We're not making weird, predictions over what people will want. Just going to ask them, what do you want it to be? And try to turn it into that as much as we can, which I think is a really cool plan. I think if I ever launch more Patreons in the future, we'll go with that philosophy of like offer as much as you can and leave space to adapt and grow according to what people want. Because one thing I learned with my early Patreons was like too many tiers up top and promising too many specific things in certain places. Because then inevitably, once you get in, you're like, well, we're not like, no one really likes, like no one's really banging the doors down for this one thing we were offering.
Right.
And it's kind of annoying for us to make. And yet, but now it's on there and we have to do it. Leave space for flexibility and then use that flexibility to have a conversation with the people that are providing that material foundation for the art to exist in the first place. And I think we're doing pretty well. I think that dropping the children's campaign, this entire campaign just about character creation on the Patreon, I'm very proud of that.
I think that's great.
And Casey did a great job. Yeah, and the response we're hearing from the patrons is way more than we ever asked for.
Yeah.
Just has been incredible. And I can't wait to see what else we do on there. Like it's gonna be a fun playground.
I really think of that dropping the children's campaign kind of like when Taylor Swift has done this, Beyonce, when people drop like surprise albums, that's just such a service to your fans and to the community you've built. It's like, hey guys, I know you love us, you're paying us this amount of money. This is the deal we have. We're gonna make that deal better. Boom.
Yeah.
And it's not, we threw this together in an afternoon. This is fully produced. This is for you. We want to maintain this community and add value to this community. Boom.
And I'll tell you this though, too. I mean, caveat emptor, like that model, not going to work for smaller creators that haven't established a big following yet.
For sure.
We are able to do that because Bria and Erica and Lou and Brennan have spent their early careers building that following. So because they have that investment of their time and attention and work, we were able to take a model that front loads the value for the patron. Whereas a smaller creator and other podcasts have launched wouldn't have been able to do that financially. It wouldn't make sense.
Right.
But here we could do that. And so we really wanted to take advantage of it.
I think it's great. I am a patron. I was right on there first day.
Oh, great. Good.
So I'm very excited to see what you guys do in the future on that. We talked at length in one of our previous episodes about literal how to make a narrative play podcast. So how to make something like this. Are there any addendums you would add to people who, after hearing Worlds Beyond Number, maybe want to start incorporating some aspects of more deliberate post-production into their workflow? Are there any like tools or things that you've found, especially over the past year since our last conversation, that you would recommend?
I think that almost anybody can learn to play a little music, and that you can add music to your show, original music to your show, and I think a little in a way that's easier than maybe you're imagining. So, and I learned all this in the last year. I didn't know anything about virtual instruments or MIDI, anything like that at all, nothing. And so I took a huge crash course, and it's all very confusing and complicated, but there are free DAWs, like Reaper's free, or the paid version is very cheap. Mm-hmm. Even GarageBand can do this.
Yeah. NADPod was doing GarageBand for the first year they were doing stuff or something.
Yeah. And I don't know what Emily is composing in. I don't know. I should ask her about this. But you can find free virtual instruments online that sound fantastic. And just sitting, learning, like watching one YouTube video about basic chords and then getting a cool piano instrument loaded up and playing it underneath your show is going to unlock a feeling in you that I'm jealous that you get to experience it for the first time. That's what I will say.
I use a service called Artlist, which has like there's a sound library and like sound effects library. So most of what I do is using like pre-designed music and pre-designed sound effects and then layering those in ways that, kind of make new things. And there is something beautiful when you lay down a piece of music and time it up to like for it to swell to the, the minor chord right when the bad guy says that. Like it hits you. Like there's a reason people use music.
Yeah, and it fucking works. Like we joke on Rude Tales all the time about how like music is the biggest cheat code in art.
Oh yeah. It is the art Konami cheat code. I mean, come on.
Music is the most direct, other than like erotic touch. Music is the most direct way to affect someone's emotions. Really. I mean, I guess like you could show them a scary picture or whatever. I don't want to compare. I don't want to get in a fight over which art form is best. But like the magic music is fucking magic. Music is the closest thing we have to emotional, actually being to cast magic on another person. Yeah, I would say like try writing your own little music. And I know that sounds really fucking intimidating. It really does sound intimidating because you're imagining like the complicated stuff that you love and have listened to and moved you. And because you can't think of it right now, you don't know how to do it right now, you think that's not for me, I don't know how to do it. But just try a little. And if you try a little for long enough, maybe that's a couple of hours, maybe it's a couple of weeks, just try a little bit. One thing will happen, one little moment will happen where you figure out like just three notes that like fit your story perfectly, and you will put it in the right place and you will listen back to it and it will sound to you like all the great movies and TV shows and podcasts that you love sounded to you, and it will blow your heart up, and you will not be able to stop doing it anymore. That's what happened to me, and I think that can happen to others. It rules. Try that out.
I am beginning to get to the point now where the sound effects in like this library, and like I'm layering like 5 or 6 different sound effects to make one thing sometime to make it like what I want. And like I've gone through a bunch of the music and I've stripped clean a lot of like the very best things in it. I'm literally looking across my apartment right now to a piano I bought right before the pandemic that I practiced diligently for like 6 months and then stopped. And I'm also in my head thinking about like the Foley that I've wanted to do for something because I couldn't find that exact sound effect for what I wanted. And I'm dangerously close to making that jump to going from like an already irresponsible amount of time I put into these shows to a ludicrous amount of time that I put into these shows.
Get a cheap MIDI keyboard and get some free, cool, like the Spitfire Labs are just a huge collection of very cool sounding free virtual instruments that I would suggest. It's a lot of fun to play around with. It has changed my life.
Kind of on that note, out right now would have been the entire children's adventure and the first episode. Is there anything in those episodes or in like future episodes that people should be listening for sonically, like either music or sound design that you are particularly proud of, that you think has been like, was the best part of that episode from like your perspective?
It would be...
Choose from among your children, Taylor. That's what I want you to do.
It would be the height of hubris. It'd be the height of hubris for me to call a shot like that this early in the show. I don't know. I feel like right now I'm laying a lot of chips down. I'm placing a lot of bets. We're building sort of this foundation. I think the real test to see that if I can score it successfully is going to be into summer maybe. Like look, like I don't know, don't quote me on the date there, but like look towards the end of like our first sort of mini arc within the main story, and look back and see if the score and sound design have remained like consistent and emotive and rewarding and supporting of the story, then I will say success. But as far as right now, I feel like I've called a lot of shots, but no one's thrown really the first pitch to me.
I'll be excited to see what that batting average is come summer.
I will say this though.
Oh, there we go. There's the hubris. Okay, here we go.
I won't tell you what's good. I won't tell you what's good because I don't know if I can say what's good. But I know that what I like is I've got a woodwind sound that I associate with the spirit world of Umora in The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One that I love. I love that sound. I will just sit here at my keyboard and I will just like play and listen, and I will find myself like falling asleep, not out of boredom, but out of just this deep, peaceful feeling. So I have to be careful when I'm composing with it because I will just lose the thread and just drift off into this sort of abyss of sound, and that's the woodwind sound for the spirit world I love. Is it good? Only time will tell, my friend. Only time will tell.
I didn't ask you what was good. I asked you what you were proud of, which,
I'm not
people
proud
are
of it. I
some
just
crazy
like
stuff.
it. I'm proud of nothing. I'm trash. I am a hack. Let me be very, very clear. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know what I ought to be doing. Everything I do I am just going with my gut, and everything is paper clips and rubber bands held together with chewing gum and threats. And that's it. I truly am a hack who is just trying to scrape by and make something that is fun. I don't know. I have no fucking clue what I'm doing.
My favorite part about being on a television or film set is looking at the camera, because the proper way to attach a lot of things to a camera is with something called a bongo tie, which is just a slightly fancy rubber band. And with that tool, you're making the most beautiful things that make you cry. So you say it's held together with paper clips and rubber bands, but that is the way that like true great art is made. So, don't knock it, man. For this show, for Worlds Beyond Number, for Fortunate Horse, what do you see for the near and distant future? What does, in a nebulous way, what does success look like for you as...
Oh, God, let's talk about it, baby. Let's talk about dreams. Let's talk about ambitions.
Yeah.
Number one, I want to make... Oh, this is so fucking grandiose. But it's fun to dream, man. Brian,
I love you coming in hot. I love it.
It's fun. Like, I don't play the lottery, but I still kind of fantasize about what I would do if I won it,
Oh, yeah, me too. I get that.
Yeah, right.
And it's always like give a bunch of friends money. It's just like, let's fucking do it, man.
Yeah.
Let's buy a bar and just give everyone free drinks for like a month.
Me
Why
too.
not?
I fantasize about buying houses and opening them up for artists like residencies for my friends.
Oh, yeah.
Just like
I've
need a
always
place
thought-
to work.
My one I joke about is I'll buy an apartment building. Everyone can have free rent.
Yes.
But once a month you have to come play board games with me. Like you got to sign up one day a month or something.
You're like fucking Bill Murray's character in like the Twilight Zone episode. the kid, it's like, I'll let you live in paradise where you never die, but you've got to play games with me or I send you to the cornfield.
It's like, all right, it's Tuesday. Who's playing Wingspan?
Twilight Imperium again? Shut up, honey. We need this apartment.
This is 3 bedrooms. There's only 2 of us. We're paying $12.50 a month. $12.50 a month.
Yeah. So okay. So fantasy is.
Yes.
I think that, and this is what I've been trying to do with Fortunate Horse artistically, but I think that because the Worlds Beyond Number crew is bringing this enormous audience to this sort of show for the first time, we've got a good shot at it. But I would really like to sort of reintroduce the audio drama as common entertainment that is not a nerd niche thing. I hope, and I do think that Fortunate Horse shows sometimes do approach the level of quality.
Yes. Yes. You think you hope? Are you kidding me? All right, fuck off a little bit. All right, fuck off just a little bit.
I'm trying to be humble, but like, God damn it.
There's humble and then there's condescension. All right, let's be clear.
You're
let's
right.
be clear.
You're Brian, you fucking got me. You got me, dude. You fucking got me. That was condescending, and I'm full of shit. I'm sorry. You are right. You are correct. Please leave this in so everyone sees how humble I am.
Oh, boo.
Got you.
All right, game respect game.
to.
Game respect game.
You're right. Fortunate Horse shows fucking rule. We make a lot of fun stuff. My favorite comedy right now is being made here at Fortunate Horse. I would like to see a world where audio drama is back and it is a common form of entertainment. And I think in order to do that, we have to have models of production that allow democratization. And that's why actual plays are so cool for it. See, actual play podcasts aren't really actual play podcasts. What we are doing is we are making audio fiction with a very cool and new production method.
Right.
People got to switch their brains into that mode a little bit. That's what our last conversation was about, so I don't want to rehash all that.
And if you haven't listened to that conversation,
you better. But if we can do that, if we can do it, right, then I think we'll have audio drama will be this cool new thing again that people can say, more people can say, like, I want to have a career in this, or I want to make this kind of show. And I like that because it's very democratizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Audio is very democratized. Podcast distribution is very democratized. The only problem with podcasts these days is discovery and threats to the open RSS system like Spotify, et cetera. But I don't know if that's a problem we can really solve. People complain about discoverability, but that's the price we pay for democratizing access to cultural production, is you have a lot of art. Sorry, first world problems. I don't want to hear any complaining. Says the guy who got the famous D&D guy to be on his show. Fucking cocky asshole. Me, I'm talking about me. That would be cool. I would like to help legitimize audio drama as a common mainstream form of entertainment. I would like to, I really hope that people pay enough attention to us to try and replicate our business model. I really want people to see that non-exploitative, consensus-based ways of doing business are profitable and possible and sustainable. I really want to demonstrate that so that other people coming after me or even in competition with us can see that that's something they can try. And hopefully that will lead to just better lives and better work for other people in the space or whatever. I really hope we're able to spread that word. I don't know. It's that is an uphill battle that is generations long. I don't know if we'll ever be able to put a dent in, but all you can do is do your best and try, right?
If there is one space that it could happen in easier than others, it is both podcast or audio and the tabletop role-playing game space.
I think so. Because the art is so already inherently consent-based and social-based. We're already playing with this thing that incentivizes and encourages and rewards loving and playing with others in that way. I hope that we can translate that to business models as we continue to move that into the space of entertainment, which I think is endlessly cool. I hope that people stop thinking about actual play as an extension of the game space and start seeing it as just a different kind of entertainment. I think that putting actual play in the D&D or tabletop role-playing game box sucks. I think that is a limiting, shitty concept that is holding us back from a new, beautiful medium. Again, I'm repeating myself. I won't go into it too much more.
No, that's good.
And I hope that the 5th show I'm launching this summer is a success. We are putting out, this is the first time I'm talking about it publicly.
Oh, hell yeah.
We're going to try and launch another show. I can't say any details about it.
Okay.
I can't.
Tell me why you're excited about it. Kind of tease the edges.
It's a genre that we have that Fortune Horse hasn't done before.
Okay.
But it's a genre that is extremely important to me personally. I'm working with top tier talent that I have been adoring for years and years. And let's just shit. Okay, here we go. I cannot say any details. I cannot reveal the name. I cannot reveal who's working on the show, although I'm very excited to travel soon to go visit with them and record some stuff. But let's just say you'll be hopefully this summer you'll be fearing it in your fear phones.
Nightmare that you just said that, and I have to keep it in. I can't lose it.
I don't want to give you any frightmares.
Boo. Oh, no.
Did you just say boo like a ghost?
No!
Got him.
Oh, I contributed to the nightmare.
That's all I can say. That's all I can slay about Cat. Black
God,
cat.
Jesus.
That's all I can say about Cat. That's all I can say. A boot cat. Not Canadian, ghost style.
I'm very excited to see what it is. This will be very fun. Anyone who's listening to this in July or August, tune back into this and see, did it match your expectations? Did you think it was going to be frightful pun-based? Is it? Who knows?
Blah. Yeah, so we're gonna try and launch a fifth show this summer, which is literally my friends and family have made me promise to. This is the last one for a while. I'm not allowed to launch any new shows for the foreseeable future after this one. But we got another show brewing, and I'm very excited.
I fucking love that. With your desire to get more into audio drama, I love audio drama. Hitchhiker's Guide audio drama is like one of my favorite things in the world. It's amazing. I've gotten into more like with Q Code and different production companies who are doing more production, post-production heavy things. I've really loved them. I always find that scripted audio drama is not as compelling as improvised audio drama. I don't even think it's close.
Yep, I agree.
Are you going to keep to a more improvised style?
Yes. Oh, that's what we do. We play games to make stories out of sound, baby. That's the business model. I can see me doing something scripted, as a goof or a small project. Or I can see us like maybe we write something in the world of one of the shows and release it as like an audio thing. But no, I agree with you. Like I feel that these improvised narratives where I'm sort of getting the best of both audio worlds. Yeah. I'm getting the drama and I'm also getting the friendship conversations. It's combining both. It's like, what do we know people like to listen to? Good music. We know that people like to listen to good music. 2, 100 years of radio DJs and drive time personalities have taught us that people love to hear goofy friends goofing around and doing goofs and hanging out. That's 2 things. And the third thing is people love to be told stories. So if you combine those 3 things, what you get are narrative play podcasts.
Yeah.
Like that's what people don't understand is like, we're not a goddamn D&D show. This is a new form of entertainment that is made possible by what we learned from tabletop role-playing games. I don't think it's a coincidence that, let's just do a little philosophy or like historical tangent.
Yes, please.
I don't think it's a coincidence that tabletop role-playing games as we know them, which began with, D&D in the late 60s, early 70s. That's also when improv as an art form began to be practiced.
Interesting.
Like the middle of the 20th century, you see the creation of both those things. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that something economically, culturally, socially was happening that allowed, because they're essentially the same thing. Like D&D adds the very cool feeling of like making numbers and squares fit in the same place. But D&D is essentially improv with math and Tolkien added to it. And that fucking rules. If you love those 3 things, and I know millions of people who do, it slaps. And so, it's great. So those came along and something happened at that time. Something in the world, something was going on to allow those 2 improvised narrative creation art forms or games or whatever you want to call them, because both of them are neither really one or the other, sort of happen at the same time. You combine that with good music and what we know about, like I said, like drive time DJs telling us what people like to listen to. That's what you get. You get the parasocial experience of hearing these friends tell the story, the actual drama of the fiction and story, and this beautiful music. I mean, like, that rules. Those are the 3 things people love to listen to the most. It is not a surprise, and it should not be a hard pitch to the world to get them to understand that is a successful thing that we could be doing. So I don't know, it could work. That's all I'm saying.
I think people just got to hear it. And then once you hear it, you understand it. Once you understand it, you love it.
Yeah. That's what's so great. I tell you, this world's beyond number thing. It fucking rules. It's so many new people hearing this stuff for the first time. It's great. I have seen thousands of people who were like, I've never done a podcast before. I'll check that out. Or like, what's a Patreon? Like all these things are because their audience that they're bringing to it, the cast is so large. So many people are experiencing every aspect of this for the first time. It's wild to see.
And these are the most democratized aspect. I mean, Patreon's democratization of capitalism, kind of. Podcasting is democratization of art because it's so easy and simple to get into.
Easy to make. Now, if you say podcasts are easy to make online, people will yell at you for 2 days. They're wrong. Compared to everything else, podcasting is the best. It is the easiest to make.
Yeah,
and it is the most accessible. Yeah, 100%.
I did see someone say it was easy to make, and I just finished a 40-hour edit, and I was like, all right, fuck off just a little bit. But
that's us. We are doing that to ourselves.
I know.
The actual technology of a podcast. is easier to broadcast.
For sure.
And it is easier to consume than even the written word. So depending on your level of hearing, I don't want to universalize everyone's access to sound. That's not true. But it's easier to for those of us who can hear, it is easier to listen to someone talk than to carry a book around.
For sure.
So, really podcasts are one of the most democratizing forces in culture right now. That's why I like them so much.
I feel like let's move to an outro, I guess. Is there anything else you wanted to cover, talk about, touch on? Anything from Worlds Beyond Number you want to promote in any way?
Okay, 2 things. Number 1, if you're curious about the show, you don't know if you're going to like it, just jump right into the Preludes episode on the main feed and give it 10, 20 minutes. And if you don't like it, don't worry, dip out. But I would say if you want to just try the show out, just start at the Preludes episode and see how that feels for you. 2, if you love it and you want all the Patreon stuff, but times are fucking hard, I know this as well as anybody else, believe me, it's okay to come on the Patreon, subscribe for 1 month, download everything, and then dip out. That's cool. That's fine. We're not going to get mad at you.
And if nothing else, even right now, there's 10 hours of a children's campaign you can grab.
Yep.
So you'll be fine for a month, probably.
Yeah. Although so many people binged it in one day. Incredible.
I really wanted to so bad. I've got it now for the weekend, so it'll be good. That is it for this episode of My First Dungeon. Taylor, thank you so much for coming on the show, being so generous with your time. Always a pleasure, never a chore.
Thank you so much. I love talking with you about this stuff. I'm sorry I go on and on, but
are you kidding me?
Ryan, you get me revved up.
The easiest thing about being the interviewer is just knowing how to shut up and let the person who's more interesting talk. That's
interesting.
The key to being a good interviewer.
I don't know about interesting, but I can definitely talk. that's one thing I get in my Incubus services and talking. Those are 2 things I didn't guarantee.
That's true. I can vouch for the Incubus services and the talking. So in case you're on the fence about either the Patreon or the Incubus services, maybe go with the Incubus services first. I could, they're both good.
5 stars.
5 stars. No notes.
5 star, please. 5 star.
Can you just tell the people if they're looking for you online where they can find you?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm Taylor.biz on all the social places. And you can find Worlds Beyond Number at worldsbeyondnumber.com, but most importantly, patreon.com/worldsbeyondnumber. Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot. I never had a Fortunate Horse site. FortunateHorse.com.
There you go.
Yeah.
Check out all the Fortunate Horse shows. You got Fun City. You've got These Are the Stars of Space. You've got Rude Tales of Magic. And you've got now Worlds Beyond Number. They're all great. You're going to love each and every one of them.
And soon, a 5th show headed for Boo. That Boo might enjoy listening, Boo.
All right. Say goodbye to Taylor. This is the last time he's going to be on the show.
Boo, everyone.
No!
It's been lovely stalking to Boo.
Oh,
I gotta go.
Okay.
To the hospital. Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Great.
And that is all for this episode of My First Dungeon. You can follow us on Twitter at My First Dungeon. And if you like the show, you should consider subscribing to the 20-Sided newsletter, our bi-monthly newsletter about TTRPGs, game design, and cool things going on in this great community. Subscribers get access to extended interviews with our guests, as well as exclusive first looks at games that Elliot and I are designing, and so much more. And if you like the show, the very best way you can support us is by going to your podcast player right now, clicking follow, and leaving us a review. It helps more people find the show, and it lets us know that you like what we're doing. And as always, remember, if you're having fun, you're already doing it right.
If you're hearing this, that means you listened to every last second of this episode. And if you simply cannot wait until the next episode drops, you should head over to patreon.com/myfirstdungeonpod and become a member of the Dice Pool. Fresh! For just a few bucks a month, you'll get cast talkbacks, original games, and a full-length bonus actual play each and every month. As of the end of 2023, there's already over 20 hours of bonus audio, plus a whole bunch of other goodies to enjoy. So head on over to patreon.com/myfirstdungeonpod and jump on into the Dice Pool. We'll see you there. Splash!